Support and accountability. In my opinion, this is probably the single most important aspect in personal training. I think if you ask everybody, almost all of us could give you some information on how to get fitter and how to get healthier. But I think the real key is actually persistence and being held accountable and sticking to something when the going gets tough. And I think the reason people often do fall behind or give up or fall off the wagon is because there is no accountability. There's no what if. So yeah, I think if we're honest as well, very few people can actually sustain a fitness journey all by themselves. There are certain people who are very driven, very dedicated and focused, and they will just do it all by themselves, and I think fair play to them. But I'm somebody who certainly wouldn't be able to do it by myself. I am very good at working with other people at getting them there, but if I'm to do something myself, I need some support and I need some accountability as well. I think a good example is the reason why we keep going to work day in, day out is because we're accountable. We have responsibilities. If we don't do our job, we will lose our job. There's accountability behind that, And I think the main issue with this is that there will always be obstacles that are thrown at you. We're busy people. We have families, we have jobs, etc. that will always take priorities. And they will always throw setbacks and curveballs at us. I think the key is being able to implement various steps and practices and procedures to make sure that we either limit the damage that those setbacks throw at us or we overcome them altogether. And I'm ultimately there to talk to you about them, and we can put practices in place to make sure that they don't completely derail us. For example, a lot of people will go on a holiday or will have a heavy weekend, and if we talk about it the week before and say, okay, cool, so you're going to be away a few beers this weekend or some indulgent food or whatever, coming back is always quite difficult. If you have nobody to answer to and no one to hold you accountable, it can be very, very difficult to get back into things. But, ultimately, if there is a plan and a strategy in place and there is somebody there who's expecting to hear that those things have been done, I promise you, it makes all the difference in the world, and that's where our support and accountability system, will really come into play. And that all starts with your transformation blueprint call. I'm ultimately going to hold you accountable to what we talk about on that call. We will agree on kind of weekly or bi-weekly check-ins, depending on your diary and how busy you are, what would work for you. And we will agree on sort of small steps that ultimately I expect to be done by the next time we catch up. And in the background, I'm going to be there checking on your stats when they're submitted, checking on your workouts to make sure they're being done, and you're checking in each time. Your diet diary submissions are kind of being filled out correctly and reading the right stuff. And if I think something's perhaps going slightly awry or something's not quite going the direction I want it to, I'm going to step in straight away to make sure that this doesn't derail us completely. Make sure it's just a small bump in the road and we're back on track. This is where I need to be very clear in that if I feel your measurements aren't going the way they should based on your diary submissions and the fact you've done all the workouts, I will call you out on it. And I don't mean to say that in a horrible way, but I think ultimately we need to be honest with each other. I don't buy crappy excuses. I don't buy the fact that, one person's life is a billion times harder than the rest of the population. Everybody has their difficulties in life, and this is why we're here. We need to be honest with each other and say, okay, we will sit there on the blueprint call, we will talk about it, and ultimately we will put in play relevant practices to overcome those. But if we agree on them, I need you to make sure that they're done. If I'm going to come up with the ideas and put them in play, I need to make sure that they are done. I'm prepared to open the door for you, but I really need to make sure, I really need you to make sure that you walk through it. I will also be there to support and look after you throughout the whole process to make sure everything does get done in times when you feel less motivated, etc. But I just need that effort back. Okay, right, what I'd like you to do now is move on to the next video, and I will see you there.